Plank. Presented by Jeep continues right now on ABC Action News Now.
Welcome back to The Plank. John Sable alongside Tom Korn. Remember, we want to hear from you guys. Reach us on social media, on Twitter. You see Tom's handle, my handle. Also via the phone. Call us 813-367-0171. We're entering our final break. 10 minutes to go. We still have plenty of time to hear from you guys coming up here in our final hour.
That's right. And right now, let's go to the phones and let's bring in Jim from Newport Richey. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
All right, what's up?
Love your show. I'm a regular caller. Listen, I just want to say I think the Bucs have a chance this Sunday. If the offensive line helps out Glennon like he helped out himself against Pittsburgh, I think they stand half a chance. You know, defense was respectable. When it came crunch time, everybody got the job done. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to it. I want to hold out some optimism, but I'm just having a tough time doing it, Jim. It's just I've seen what New Orleans can do. I know the Buccaneers have never shown what New Orleans can do,
right.
The potential of what New Orleans can do. And with this game being in the Superdome concerns me. But, hey, listen, they beat Pittsburgh, and not many people thought they could beat Pittsburgh.
And, Jim, are you still on the line there?
Yeah, I'm here.
And you are a Mike Glennon guy. You've called in the last few weeks praising Mike Glennon. You got your wish last week. He's going to play this week. And one stat that I think is interesting with Mike Glennon, 10 touchdowns rather, 3 interceptions in 7 road games. I mean, that's including his play last year in the Superdome. I know, Jim, you're probably happy. A lot of other Glennon fans are going to be happy playing there. But what I don't think is going to happen, it's not going to be the play of Mike Glennon that's going to doom this team. What I think is going to happen is going to come down to the Bucs' offensive line protecting him and establishing the run, and then, of course, the defense trying to get to Drew Brees. So I don't necessarily think it's all going to be about getting Glennon going in this one, though.
Yeah, but when you said I thought the offensive line was pretty good in Pittsburgh, or was it just because Glennon got rid of the ball a little faster and made better decisions?
I think the line did play better.
They did.
I think they really did play better.
And they did, but also keep in mind the Steelers were missing a few guys on the defensive side of the ball, too. Like the Bucs, their defensive, they had the same amount of injuries going into that game, so you didn't see your first-string guys up there either. Not to take anything away from the Bucs, I'm not trying to be like a negative Ned here, but you got to look at the nuts and bolts of that game. Glennon did get rid of the ball a lot quicker. You bring up a good point compared to Josh McCown. That was one of the biggest knocks on him coming out of Chicago last year, TK, is that he had tended to hold the ball.
Well, one of the plays that Lovie Smith pointed out in that game against Pittsburgh was the play that Glennon threw the ball away. Never took the sack on that first down when they had first down on, the 11?
And there's nothing wrong with throwing the ball away.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. Jimmy, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks for not being a stranger.
All right, guys, y'all take care.
Okay, you want to join us? You might be able to get in a quick call at 813-367-0171. But unfortunately, I think it will be a fantasy if the Buccaneers do beat New Orleans on Sunday. But then again, there's people who do play fantasy football that may be so inclined to use the Drew Brees, may be so inclined to use the Marquez Colston, may be so inclined to even drop in a Mike Glennon or maybe a Vincent Jackson.
Right, and Jackson had a pretty good week last week, scoring that game-winning touchdown.
That he did.
And, of course, the other guy on the other side for the Bucs, Mike Evans, was on my fantasy team, yet he scored his first career touchdown, but also didn't finish the game with a groin injury. Our Matt McGuire, our fantasy guru, will tell you who to pick up this week before Sunday. And also, if you're looking for a quarterback, because 9 teams, he's going to talk about this. Did you know that 9 teams changed quarterbacks this past week? That's pretty impressive. Our Matt McGuire has more on what you should expect this week in fantasy football.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 5. We're going to talk about some quarterback changes, a couple free agents you might want to add, and since we've played 4 games already, we're going to look back at some of my previous picks and see how we did. Now, 4 games into the season, we've already seen 9 teams make a change at quarterback. One of those I highlighted last week with Jacksonville and Blake Bortles and how that impacted Alan Henderson in the passing game in Jacksonville. Another team I want to highlight this week is the Minnesota Vikings. Teddy Bridgewater's coming in and making his second appearance this week. Now, he played very well last week, but since he is a rookie quarterback, a lot of times the coaches want to have a conservative game plan, not throw the ball too much downfield, but a lot of screen passes or passes to the running backs or tight ends. The biggest beneficiary to that was Jarius Wright. Now, Wright's a player who caught a lot of screen passes and turned the plays into big yards downfield. I look for him to continue to do that. Last week, he had 8 catches for 132 yards. I think Bridgewater will continue to look his way. Another change, the quarterback that we all know about, is here in Tampa with Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon led the Bucs to an amazing comeback win last week against the Steelers. I was really impressed with his poise in the pocket and his ability to spread the ball around field. Now, Mike Evans got hurt in the game, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. But Louis Murphy stepped right in and didn't miss a beat. Now, they just signed him that week, but Louis was in camp with the Bucs all preseason, so he was familiar with the system, and him and Glennon had time during the preseason to work together on those second-team reps they were getting. Now, Louis had 6 catches for 99 yards, and I think he can continue that type of production, but I also look for Austin Seferi-Jenkins to get involved in the passing game. Now let's talk about some free agents you might want to pick up. I already talked about Minnesota, but I want to talk about the running backs there. Jerick McKinnon had a big week last week with 132 yards rushing. Now, when the news about Adrian Peterson broke a few weeks ago, everybody rushed to pick up Matt Asada, and Asada's played very well. In fact, he had 3 touchdowns last week. I think the Vikings will continue to split time between the two, but if you watch both of them play, you'll notice that McKinnon is by far the more explosive of the two backs, and I think as the season progresses, he'll separate himself in that competition and get more of the playing time. The next player I want to talk about is Travis Kelce. Now, last week I mentioned how tight ends are just seem to be growing on trees, and Kelce's another name you can add to that list. Last week he had 8 catches for over 90 yards and a touchdown. I think as Alex Smith becomes more familiar with him, they'll continue to build on that, and his production's going to go up. The last player is Miles Austin. A lot of times players in Cleveland tend to fly under the radar, and the Browns had a bye week last week, so Austin, chances are he's available in your league to pick up. His last 2 games, he's had 2 touchdowns, and I think he's going to continue to get a lot of looks in the red zone and a lot of those passes until Josh Gordon comes back from suspension. Lastly, I want to take a look back at some of my previous suggestions and see how those worked out. We've played 4 games now, and when we look back, fantasy football is not an exact science. We try to make predictions based on previous performances, upcoming matchups, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. First, let's start with 2 guys that I think are working out pretty well. The first is Carlos Hyde, the rookie running back in San Francisco. Through 4 games, he's got 2 touchdowns, so he's well on his way to that 8 to 10 touchdown range that I predicted before the season started. And week to week, his production's going up. He's seeing more carries and more time on the field as he becomes more familiar with the NFL. The next one is Ahmad Bradshaw. I highlighted him a few weeks ago when I thought the Colts would make a move at running back. It's pretty clear now that the Colts aren't really looking to make a move at running back. They're just going to split time between Bradshaw and Trent Richardson. But Bradshaw has gone on to become a top 5 fantasy scoring running back in most formats, in large part due to his ability to catch passes from Andrew Luck. He's one of Luck's favorite targets inside the red zone. So now let's take a look at 2 guys that weren't exactly on par. The first one is Christine Michaels. I highlighted him before the season started as a potential sleeper candidate as a backup to Marshawn Lynch. Michaels got hurt in the last week of preseason, and Robert Turbin came in to be the backup for Lynch. Turbin's played well through the first 4 games, and I think he will continue to be that backup to Lynch. So you can pretty much forget about fantasy production from Christine Michael unless there's some drastic changes in Seattle. And the next guy is Jason Witten. I highlighted him as a buy low candidate a couple weeks ago, but it's clear he's not going to be that much of a focal point of the Cowboys' passing attack. You couple that with the fact that there's a ton of tight ends available out there, you can get much better production elsewhere from the tight end position. So at this point, I recommend steering clear from Witten. So that's all I've got now for Week 5. Thanks again for watching. Matt McGuire, and remember, #ThePlank on Twitter if you have any questions.
All right, we appreciate Matt McGuire bringing us his, I guess, well, let's call it expertise.
Yeah, I can't believe that. 9 quarterbacks changes, not from in 1 week. I was mistaken. From the beginning of the season, that's incredible.
Do you realize that he's in like 10 fantasy leagues?
I could, you know what? Judging by what he says,
Maybe
I
12?
was not surprised if he's not in 20 of them.
He's got to be in the money ones,
Right?
You know?
He might be.
You know, I play this thing for fun. You might be able to make some
Recreational
serious
purposes, Tom.
Well, that's that's for you to say.
Right.
All right, 813-367-0171 if you want to get in a quick call before we call it an evening. I was going through the keys to the game real quick that I think 2 of them we went through already. I think they need constant pressure or they need to contain Drew Brees on Sunday.
Right.
The second one was control the clock, which is kind of what Ed Daniels was talking about. And the third one, well, kind of touched on it as well. No turnovers. I mean, you can't turn it over in that joint.
Yeah, they had 1 turnover last week, but like you talked about, it was a pass to Mike Evans, but he stopped running because he pulled his groin. But, Mike Glennon played really well. They didn't fumble the football. They didn't turn the ball over besides that 1 interception. It resulted in a win. So turnovers will be key again. It's going to be interesting to see if the offense can, protect the ball going into a hostile environment at the Superdome.
All right, let's go to my picks. Are you ready? Drum
Yes.
roll? How come we don't have a drum roll? Oh, thank you.
There you
That's
go.
good. That didn't even sound like a drum.
No, it sounds
It's close.
like a can.
It's not close.
Yeah.
Well, boy, is that a surprise.
Well, I agree with you. I picked the Saints too.
You picked the Saints
I did.
too? Okay. How come we don't have? We should put yours next to mine.
Mine will be coming up right after yours.
Oh, right after mine. Oh, you okay?
Spoiler
Don't-
alert,
Don't
yeah.
spoil it. Tonight's game, Vikings are at the Packers. I'm taking the Pack because I think the Vikings are starting Joe McGillicuddy from the bar down the street at quarterback. They got nobody there.
I thought he was that bus driver.
That's possible.
Oh, okay.
That's Ralph.
Oh, Ralph.
Ralph Cramden.
Gosh, okay.
Cardinals at the Broncos. This is an upset, folks, because, listen, the Broncos are coming off a bye week. And let's face it, they're pretty dangerous off a bye week. But I'm going to take the Cards in this one. I think they're going to stay unbeaten.
Unbeaten. Wow. Only one of 2 teams left.
Yeah.
And real quick, mine, Sable says here, I've got the Saints winning. I have the Bengals on the road in Foxborough pulling out the win. Bengals will stay red hot. And then the Colts will protect home turf in Indy, beating on the Ravens.
All righty, beautiful. Okay, listen, the game day details, as we know, the Buccaneers going to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to take on New Orleans, kickoff at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And we will definitely be around, so you want to tweet us at #ThePlank.
Right. Tweet your photos if they win. If they lose, we want to see some sad, depressed Bucs fans that we'll show here. But of course, if they win, tweet us some videos as well. We saw some great videos and pictures earlier of little kids running around, excited, happy of the win. So hopefully this could be a victory next week as we look forward to the Ravens game when they come back here after a 3-week hiatus.
Well, let's see what happens. I know, as Ed Daniels was telling us, New Orleans fans a little bit shocked. I think the team is a little bit shocked down there in the Big Easy about being 1-3. They haven't really been in this predicament in a long, long time.
Two levels of stunning feelings in that fan base and in those teams. Unfortunately, I think the Bucs go ahead and lose this one, and we're looking at a 1-4 TK.
All right, folks, listen, thanks again for joining us here on The Plank on abcactionnews.com/theplank. And for John Sable, I'm Tom Corin. Thanks again to Greg Allman and Ed Daniels for joining us as guests tonight. We'll be talking to you next Thursday right here on abcactionnews.com.